We have some big news today out of an international Disney park. That's right, construction is officially underway on Shanghai Disneyland's all-new Spider-Man themed land.
$200 for one day, one person. I used to bring 4 kids every summer, not anymore. That's not one person, that's the pattern. The week Disney announced peak day tickets topping $200 for the first time in history, Bob Iger, chief executive officer of the Walt Disney Company, was in Beijing pledging billions more to China. Here's what Iger isn't telling you about who is paying for that expansion. Magic Kingdom, peak day, 2026, $209. One person, one park, one day. That's up from a peak of $189 just 2 years ago. A 10% ceiling increase in 2 years. And that's just the beginning. Getting through the gate is not the experience anymore. Lightning Lane MultiPass, the paid front-of-line system that Iger's team built to replace the free FastPass, now costs up to $45 per person per day at Magic Kingdom alone. Do the math. Family of 4, peak day. Tickets, $836. Lightning Lane for all 4, $180. Parking, $35. You are past $1,050 before you have eaten a single meal or ridden a single ride. That number is not hypothetical. It is the arithmetic of Disney's own published prices. That's not the end of it. January 9th, 2026. Official statement via Xinhua. The China's state-run news agency, Iger pledged that Disney is, and this is a direct quote, confident in China's development and will continue to expand its investment in China. That's not a rumor, not a leak. His words, published by the state press, on the record. That same month, hundreds of American employees in Disney's film, TV, and corporate divisions received layoff notices. Higher prices at the gate, fewer American jobs, more capital pledged to Shanghai, all in the same operating window. In plain terms, the same week produced a record domestic ticket price, a domestic layoff round, and a foreign investment pledge. No Disney press release has ever put those 3 facts in the same sentence. Now watch what happens next. Here's how the mechanism works. Iger didn't raise prices randomly. The system has 3 interlocking parts, and each one feeds the next. Part 1. Unbundle the American park experience. For over 2 decades, getting to the front of the line was free. FastPass was included. It was part of what you paid for. Under Iger's oversight, FastPass was retired and Lightning Lane was built in its place, at up to $45 per person per day. That is not a price adjustment. That is a structural removal of a benefit followed by its resale. What Iger's team calls a premium guest experience actually means you are renting back access you used to own. The experience didn't improve. The billing did. And nobody sent you a memo about the change. Part 2. Extract maximum yield from captive domestic guests. Disney's demand-based pricing model is not designed around what the park experience is worth. And it is designed around when you are forced to show up. The real cost is, if you're a teacher, a parent, a student, your vacation window is spring break, summer, or Christmas. Those are peak windows. Tier 6, maximum price. You have no off-peak flexibility, and Disney's pricing system knows that. Micro hook. Disney knows exactly when American families can come. It prices accordingly. What Iger calls dynamic pricing actually means families with the least scheduling flexibility pay the highest rate by design. That is not a market inefficiency. That is the architecture. Part 3. Redirect the extracted capital to China. Shanghai Disney is getting a new Spider-Man-themed land and a 4th hotel. The resort recently welcomed its 100 millionth visitor since opening in 2016, and Disney's International Experiences segment posted record quarterly revenue in early 2026. That momentum is being used to justify continued billions in Chinese physical assets. Here's what that actually does. It is specifically designed to hedge against China's film import quota, which limits Hollywood to roughly 34 foreign films per year on a revenue-sharing basis, and which China has threatened to reduce further in response to U.S. trade pressure. If a Disney movie doesn't get approved for Chinese release, the Shanghai park still opens. The Spider-Man ride still runs. The revenue still flows. While what Iger calls international experiences growth actually means American families are funding a hedge against Chinese government film decisions without being told that is what their Lightning Lane purchase is doing. Your $209 ticket has a second destination. It is not in Orlando. Let me say that again. The money you spend at the gate is funding physical Chinese infrastructure designed to make Disney's China revenue immune to political risk. That is not conspiracy. That is the documented capital allocation strategy of a publicly traded company. Now here are the people paying for it. Imagine you're a family of 4 from Ohio. You've been saving for 2 years to take your kids to Magic Kingdom at Christmas. Tickets come to $836. You add Lightning Lane because the waits are 3 hours otherwise, $180 more. Parking, $35. You are past $1,000 before 10 a.m. The Shanghai Spider-Man land opens next year. Picture this scenario. You're a Disney employee in the film marketing division. February 2026. You've survived 3 previous layoff rounds. The 4th hits your floor. Your position is eliminated. That same week, the Shanghai expansion announcement drops. The press release does not mention your name or your department. Imagine you're a longtime Disney fan who grew up going every few years as a middle-class family trip. FastPass was free. Peak tickets were under $100. You planned the trip for a year. You saved. Now FastPass is gone. Peak tickets are over $200. And Lightning Lane costs more per day than some families' grocery budgets. The park hasn't doubled in rides or size. The price has more than doubled in cost. That is not inflation. That is a structural business decision made under Iger's leadership. And now picture this. Iger's total compensation for fiscal 2025 was $45.8 million, confirmed in Disney's SEC proxy filing. A family of 4 spending 1 peak day at Magic Kingdom with Lightning Lane and parking spends over $1,000. Put those 2 numbers next to each other. That gap is not symbolic. It is structural. It is the output of a deliberate pricing architecture that Iger approved and oversees. The gap between those 2 numbers is not an accident. It is a policy. Here's the part nobody's talking about. Disney's $60 billion. The 10-year capital expenditure plan is global. It funds U.S. expansions too. Not every dollar is going to China. What is documented and verifiable is the simultaneous pattern. Domestic price records, domestic layoff rounds, and international investment pledges. All in the same operating window, all under the same leadership. What Iger has not done, issued any statement connecting these 3 things in a single communication. No earnings call, no press release, no shareholder letter. The pricing is announced, the layoffs are announced, the China pledge is announced, never in the same paragraph, never with the same frame. That silence is not an accident. Disney's communications team is very good at its job. The absence of that connection is itself a data point. What Disney will say, this is about enhancing the guest experience. Dynamic pricing reflects demand. We're investing in long-term global growth. The China strategy creates value for shareholders. What Iger's team calls yield management actually means maximum extraction from the most captive audience available, deployed to fund a global asset base that reduces Disney's dependence on any single government's regulatory decisions. That's not editorializing. That is a description of the documented strategy. Here's what to watch. Disney's next quarterly earnings call will show whether international experiences revenue continues to outpace domestic operating income, and whether any new cost savings language appears beyond the current $7.5 billion target. My watch for any shifts in U.S.-China trade policy that could affect the film quota calculus or the Shanghai capital case. Watch domestic park attendance data during the next peak season, specifically whether middle-income family spending shows measurable signs of price resistance. And watch the Iger succession timeline. His contract runs through the end of 2026. Whether the next CEO inherits this extraction model or dismantles it is the next chapter. Iger has stated the China commitment on the record. The ticket prices are confirmed, the layoffs are documented. The Lightning Lane pricing is published on Disney's own website. None of that requires a source beyond Disney's own public communications. The mechanism is running. The numbers add up. The only open variable is whether American families keep absorbing the cost, or whether the attendance data starts telling a different story. That answer is already forming right now. Watch what Iger's replacement says on the very first earnings call. And then watch very carefully what they choose not to change.